like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
All right, what's up, everybody? Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the mistakes that new agents make. We call them, landmines. Landmines are the things that you try to avoid, when you're stepping, so they don't blow you up and explode you out of the business. That's really important when it comes to this business. There's so many landmines that I wish that somebody would have told me about sooner when I first went ahead and got started. And that's what we're going to talk about here. We're just going to kind of dig through a handful of topics. It might kind of seem like we're bouncing around everywhere, but there's a handful of things that I think new agents struggle with that we can dig into tonight. So I think the number one, we'll start off, not number one in most importance, but number one on the list, landmine that new agents struggle with is the sense of urgency. Okay, the sense of urgency. And the honest truth is 80-90%, I don't have an exact statistic, people are going to quit in their first 60 days if they haven't gotten results. So that lack of sense of urgency is probably one of the most important things that we can talk about tonight. The idea of helping you get paid as quickly as possible, helping your first family as quickly as possible. And how do we improve the likelihood of getting that family helped and protected as quick as possible? Well, don't do it by yourself. I mean, I think this is going to be one of the most common sense, things on the list here tonight, but whether it's, joining in on live dials or it's coming to a lock-in and getting around people that are selling, the sooner that you're around other people that are doing it, you're not going to want to be the person who's there that's not doing it around the other people that are. It becomes increasingly uncomfortable when you're doing it by yourself. You're in your own comfortable environment, so it's really easy for you to be able to fall back into normal habits and patterns and to not have that success early on. The other thing that happens is when you do protect your first family, something happens in your brain. We talk about like a dopamine rush. When you help your first family, like, it's exhilarating, and it's something that I chase. I don't party. I'm not really into that, at least since college or anything, but there's like dopamine that happens when you do those things. And I get my dopamine fix from selling insurance. When you help that first family and it happens to be a large commission and it's larger than you've ever made in a month, you hit that dopamine fix and it's like, I want to chase that. And there's days where you're not getting that. And it's just a fun thing to chase. And it's a positive thing that can obviously, set your family up and help you for success. So in regards to that sense of urgency, that also means treating this thing not just like a hobby. Hey, well, I guess I'll make a sale when I make a sale. I'll work when I decide to work. The sense of urgency of deciding to take this more seriously sooner. The sense of urgency of deciding I'm actually going to create a schedule for myself. And I'm actually, if I'm going to dial at 8 a.m., I'm going to start dialing at 8 a.m. That sense of urgency to figure this out and learn it quicker. Where's the sense of urgency? Some people say, well, maybe I'll be the guy, it takes me 3 months to figure it out. Or maybe I'll be the person who figures it out right away. Why don't you just decide I'm going to be the person who figures it out right away? You're going to save yourself a whole lot of time and money, and it's going to help you get there a lot faster. So that's number one. And I think it leads into number two pretty easily. It's this idea of, analysis paralysis for a new agent. This idea of like, I'm getting ready to get ready, but I'm never actually ready. I'm just getting ready. So analysis paralysis is such a place that you can get stuck. I remember before I got into the field for the first time, I remember reading my scripts. I got to know my scripts. I got to know my products. I got to know my in-home presentation. I have to know absolutely everything before I actually pick up the phone and start dialing. And I was having a conversation with one of our newer managers today, and it was that exact conversation. He talked about how it can be learned so much quicker from not just watching other people doing it, but you actually doing it yourself. This whole idea of getting ready to get ready, the best way to learn it is by doing it. I always like to compare it to this analogy. Imagine that, me and, Josh are walking down the street and, we'll just pretend we live in a world where neither of us know what the sport of, soccer is. Okay. And we're walking down the street and we see a group of kids playing soccer. We've never seen it before. And I go, Josh, we should really learn how to play that. What is that? And he goes, all right, I'm actually just going to go over there and start playing. And I go, well, I'm going to get on Google and type in, what soccer, how to play soccer. I'm going to ask my uncle, hey, have you ever played soccer before? I'm going to start researching the best ways to play soccer. And I'm hours and hours in. And then Josh comes back. He's had a lot of fun. And he's like, dude, it was really easy. It was a lot of fun. I just went in there and started kicking around and I figured it out. And I'm like, well, I'm still researching it. It's like, who learned it quicker? Josh, who did no research whatsoever. He just hopped in there and started playing, So that's kind of the way that I look at it from the perspective of, people who are getting ready to get ready. They think that like they follow this myth, like, oh, I have to be prepared, like Boy Scouts, like always be prepared. Yes, of course, preparation is key, but getting over prepared that leads to paralysis is one of the things that can stunt your growth in this business. For me, I thought there's no way I'm ever going to memorize all these things that I'm going to say to a client. So I need to continue to practice and practice and practice and practice. And then one day I had this light bulb moment. What if I just kept my notes in front of me the entire time when I talk to clients? I don't need to be prepared because I have my cheat sheet right in front of me. I don't need to memorize everything because if I forget, it's right in front of me. And in the world of telesales, nobody knows what you see on your desk or stuck on your back wall. If you have the entire script pulled up on your screen or your objections, plastered all over the wall. I was sitting there in person with a client with my notebook open with the 8 steps to a final expense in home, looking down and just following it. And it was better that I was just in the home doing it rather than, sitting at home practicing and practicing and practicing and never actually getting out there and doing it. So that preparation is key, but if that preparation is leading to paralysis of you not doing the work, then we've got a major problem. But then on the other side of it, you have the people who they do zero preparation. And this is another landmine. They jump into it, but they don't even do the littlest things. And what I mean by the littlest things is, Kasha calls me from the home and she says, hey, Jamie, I'm sitting here with Bob and Mary, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I go, hey, go America Eagle. And she goes, Jamie, I've never logged into America before. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you're sitting in a home and you set appointments and you bought leads and you've never logged into America before? Okay, well, try Prosperity. Well, here's the thing. I haven't logged into Prosperity either. I'm like, have you logged into anybody? Do you even have your writing numbers written down? Do you have like your logins, your links, your quote tools? Do you have any of that? And I've experienced that, not with Kasha, I'm just picking on her, but with so many new agents who they come into this with zero preparation. They just say, I'm just going to absolutely wing it. And I remember my first home, I thought I was prepared. And then I had the wrong login for AIG. And I was on the phone with AIG for like an hour and a half trying to make my first sale. And I knew that I would never do that again. I knew that I would always make sure that I had all of that in place. The worst thing is when somebody calls you, not even as simple as, hey, I haven't logged in yet. As simple as, hey, how do I quote them this product? All of those electronic applications, quote tools, links, those are all listed right there in Bootcamp. They're all listed on all the team websites. They're right there. It just takes you looking for it. And for me, sometimes I will, I'm kind of a smart ass sometimes with people. There's a website called letmegooglethatforyou.com. So if somebody has like a really, really simple thing, I'll go on letmegooglethatforyou.com. I'll type in what their question is and it'll send them a link. It'll send them to Google and I'll type in the question for them and then search it. And then it'll say, hey, was that so hard? Couldn't you have done that yourself? So I'm kind of a smart ass with it. But at the end of the day, you need to have the basic preparation, those logins, the e-apps, the quote tools, having people practice their script at least one time before it comes out of their mouth. The first time someone's doing a live dial, they're so nonchalant, they've never said it before. They've never even read the script before. And like, I'm just going to wing it. And they wonder why that first person hangs up on them. They wonder why they stumble over it the first time. So there's a balance. Over prepared and you're paralyzed, and then you don't really give a crap and you don't prepare at all and you think you're just going to wing it and you're underprepared and it bites you in the butt. So that's another landmine. I think another big one that I experience with a lot of new agents is people who don't plug into the system and they have a huge lack of communication early on. I think that's a huge one. So whether it be, these team calls, these are not mandatory whatsoever. You guys are independent agents, all of the training that we have out there, none of it's mandatory. It is highly recommended. We won't be shy in telling you that these things plugging into them are highly recommended. So you don't plug into the team calls. You're not a part of, the Slack channel. When I say, hey, go check underwriting, Jeannie, you're like, what's underwriting, Jeannie? Hey, it's in Slack. What's Slack? How do you not know what's Slack? Hey, it's in the Discord team chat. Hey, did you see that we have a place where we post our sales? No, I actually have no idea. It's because of a lack of communication early on. You decide that you're going to try to do it all yourself. You're just going to try to figure it out. And we talk about these landmines. Like if you think of a landmine, like buried in the ground, if you step on one, it explodes and like your leg gets blown off or you die. Like if somebody else has made it through the field of landmines before you, wouldn't it make sense to be like, hey, where did you walk to avoid those? Or, hey, I saw that you're missing a leg, bro. Like, you want to tell me where that landmine was so that doesn't happen to me as well? And that's the thing is you have people here that are willing to communicate with you, but a lot of times just a lack of communication on a new agent's part early on. And it's not always, it's not always your fault. There's times when maybe you have this thing in your mind that you think your manager is too busy to answer your phone call. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. And if you're a manager that people assume are too busy, and I'm totally guilty. I have people all the time. I didn't want to reach out to you because I assume you're too busy. Now, I'm going to break that myth right now. I like to stay busy. That doesn't mean I'm too busy for you ever, and that's something that I'm working on is making sure that people know you're available. Okay. That's really important that people know that you're available. So if you're a manager, keep that in the back of your mind. People need to know that you're available, number one. Number two, guys, this is a business where if you make money, your manager makes money too. It's not a secret. There's an override. If you're at 100% commission, I'm at 110% commission, you make 100% and I make 10%. Why would I not want to answer the phone to help you succeed? Why would I not want to answer the phone to help you make a sale? Selfishly, if I'm going to be selfless, I'm just going to answer the phone because it's 100% for you. And anybody can be honest on here. It's okay to be a little bit selfish when you're answering the phone. So just, if your manager's not answering, I tell people, blow them up, honestly, blow them up. And they'll answer you eventually. If it's something where you're just texting or calling to complain, different story. They're talking just to talk. But if you're like, listen, I need help with an in-home. I need help with a product recommendation. I need help figuring out how I can sell more. I need help figuring out how I can get more people to not no-show me. These conversations, we want to have them with you. We're looking for people that are teachable and coachable. So don't be afraid to communicate early on because it can help you avoid so many different road, blocks and bumps and landmines. I think the other thing kind of leading into this second part of this one is new agents try to self-diagnose their own problems. Okay, this is a big one. New agents try to self-diagnose their own issues of why they're not succeeding. Here's how I typically will, compare this. Think of like a doctor-patient relationship. You go into the doctor because you don't know what's wrong with you. You go into the doctor because you trust them to give you a good, prognosis and a solution and a prescription to help you not be sick anymore. I compare the person who doesn't want to talk to their manager to the person who goes on WebMD every single time they're not feeling good. And it's just like, hey, you're going to die every single time that they Google their symptoms. Hey, my elbow hurts. You have elbow cancer. You have 2 weeks to live, and they're freaking out. Or they go to the doctor and the doctor says, dude, you just, bumped your elbow. It's bruised, put some ice on it. You're going to be okay. Life is normal. Whereas the person who tries to self-diagnose, they start to spin out of control in trying to figure out what's wrong. They go, well, it has to be my closing ratio. It has to be. I just have to get better at my presentation. If I got better at my presentation and I learned how to sell more of the people that I was talking to, then I'd be successful. But then you talk to a manager, the doctor in this situation, who's been through it, who's sat on thousands of appointments, who's done tens of thousands of phone calls, and they say, well, Quentin, how many people are you actually closing? Well, if I talk to 10, I probably close, probably 5. Okay. And how many people do you talk to per week? Well, I talked to 5 last week. Okay. So in 2 weeks, you talk to 10 people and you close 5. So you're upset that you're helping about 2 families a week. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, I'd love to help 10 families a week. So in order for you to help 10 families a week, you can't help 10 families a week if you're only talking to 5 families a week. So they think I have to improve my closing ratio. No, actually, you just need to talk to more people. You actually need to get better at the phones and have more appointments because your closing ratio is incredible. 50%, that's amazing. But if we condense the time frames and we talk to more people in a shorter period of time, that's actually the solution. But you don't know that solution because you're trying to self-diagnose. So you spend all this time trying to perfect this presentation, but you're not talking to enough people. And it's a manager, somebody who's been here who can point you in that direction much quicker than you can figure it out yourself. You can be the person who says, well, Jamie, I'm saying exactly what you're saying on the phone, 100% to a T, but you've never unmuted. You've never actually allowed anybody to give you real feedback. And the first time that somebody hears you, that's not what I say. That's not how I say it, actually. Hey, if you just make that one little tweak right there, man, that one little tweak, you just change your tone, you change your pace, you stop being so friendly right there. You stop doing, closed-ended answers and you only do yes or yes answers, whatever that thing is. You give them 2 times to pick from rather than asking if they're free at this time. We help you make that little tweak, then everything changes. And the only reason that we're able to help you make those changes is because somebody made those changes for us. I think that's really important to know that none of us, not a single person on this call, and I really don't believe a single person who ever came into Family First Life just came into this and was crushing it perfectly. But the ones who started finding success quickly were the ones who got feedback quickly. They never lacked communication early on. You got people like Josh Fochman, who we've had on the call the last 2 weeks. He found success relatively quickly in his first couple of months. Josh does not stop blowing up my phone. I love it though, because he wants to succeed. He wants to grow. And I don't want to ever confuse his eagerness to get better for annoying me, because that's not the case whatsoever. So he's somebody, people think like, I'm going to be annoying if I hit them up so much. If you're as obsessed about this business as I am, as obsessed about this business as the other managers and the people on live dials every single day, we're going to be so excited to answer your phone call. If you're as excited about this as us, we're going to want to talk to you about it all day because it's all that we talk about. So the person who finds success quickly, they don't find success quickly because they're just better than you. They just communicated early on, nonstop, and got feedback faster. It took me, 10 weeks to run my first 100 appointments. Peter Unger ran his first 100 appointments in like 5 weeks. And he found success way faster in relativity than I did. He was in extreme communication with me early on. Okay. So keep that in mind. I think this is a great place to kind of transition here as well. We're talking about live dials, talk about the reluctance in joining. We talk about the reluctance in unmuting, and we are not perfect by any means as a team. We've had the most amazing live dial sessions one day, and other days, everyone's just kind of working themselves. At the end of the day, the way for us to get better is for us to unmute, and it's for us to keep our cameras on. Okay. So when we get into live dials, I feel like I'm just talking of a broken record about live dials nonstop, but what it's done for me and what it's done for so many people, I'll pick on Kasha again. Kasha was terrified to get on live dials when she first started. And then we said, hey, just do it. Just unmute, just try it. And it's like, if I had to guess, and I think she's nodding her head, like it's one of the most important things that ever happened for her was just getting out of her comfort zone and being willing to unmute. Now, again, we can all get better in regards to how we steward our live dial sessions. There's new agents that hop on all the time and everybody's muted. Nobody's unmuted. That's something that we all have to work on and something that we can take personal responsibility for. But regardless of who's unmuted or not, and you get on there to listen, that's one part of live dials, getting on to listen to somebody else. But the more important part of live dials, rather than listening, is you being the person who unmutes to get yourself out of the comfort zone so that you can open yourself up to feedback. Now, I've gotten the criticism as well. Well, I unmuted one time and nobody was listening. If you're brand new, this again, lack of communication early on. Hey, Josh. Hey, Kasha. I just want to let you know, today's my first day. You know that I'm about to unmute. Hey, if you see me unmuted, can you stop what you're doing for a quick second and just give me some quick feedback? Like opening yourself up for criticism, letting people know that you want to get better. And hey, if you hear me do something, I'm struggling right now, man. I'm struggling right now, Kasha. Can you give me some feedback, please? It's just opening yourself up to being spotlighted. It's something that we're all afraid to do. I was terrified to get on live dials. Kasha was terrified to get on live dials. But then once you do it, it becomes fun. It becomes a lot of fun. And it becomes like the reason why you show up every single day. It's not just to dial to make money. It's like you're doing it together with other people. Like I'm sure that there was people on here that have been dialing live for the last year and a half that when they got to see each other at convention, it's like, oh, I've only seen you through a Zoom screen. And now I'm finally getting to hug you in person. Like we're live dial siblings, like this is awesome. I'm so happy to meet you, so there's so much more to it. It's like not dialing alone. I think that's the most important thing. If you don't have a physical office to be in, being in a live dial session is important. Having your camera on, Lockhart and I were talking today, he's got a new rule that if your camera's off, he's just going to put you in the waiting room. Like you can come into the main room if you have your camera on, and now we're looking for participation, guys, and not just for our sake, but for your sake. What are you really getting out of it? If you're on there, you're muted, camera's off. No one has any idea what you're doing. And I know for me, when my camera's off, I don't really want anybody to know what I'm doing. To be total, if my camera's off, I'm not working. If my camera's on, I am working. So I'm not going to continue to, break the broken record here, but live dials is one of the most paramount things that we have in our entire business. So we'll keep it moving here. I got a couple more and we'll keep you guys back onto live dials. Let's talk about leads. We can talk about inconsistent lead buying and also inconsistent lead spend or being afraid to reinvest. I think those are kind of three things we'll hit on here. So inconsistent lead buying. So how often do I buy leads? Do I buy leads every week? Do I buy leads once every 2 weeks? Do I buy them every month? Did I buy them one time and then I've been working the same batch for the last 3 weeks? And then maybe if I feel, like I'm not going to be cheap today, I'll get some more. Or do you say every Monday and every Thursday I buy leads, every Sunday and every Wednesday, however you're going to do it, but like, when do you buy leads? I think that's important. And is there some consistency in when you buy leads? And is there some consistency in what you spend or the quantity of leads that you're getting? So I'm going to get 10 leads today, but I'll get 300 leads next week. What if you just got 150 leads this week and 150 leads next week? Like the consistency is almost more important than you going all in 1 week and then like dipping your toes in the water the next week. Anybody who went to convention, I bet you, if I had to guess, 90% of the people who came across the stage, they said, I run 40 appointments a week and I spend $1,000 to $2,000 a week on leads. And you probably heard that over and over and over and over again. That consistency is a real thing. So number one, you're not consistent in when you buy leads. You're not consistent in how much you spend or the quantity of leads that you get. And then lastly, on leads, you're afraid to reinvest. Okay. And I look at somebody who, if they spent money and they made money, you've proven that you can make money in this business. So why would you be afraid to reinvest? What's the worst thing that happens? And the honest truth is if you buy 100 leads and you're not able to help one family out of those 100 leads, either one, you weren't trying hard enough, you weren't dialing them hard enough, you didn't get enough people on the phone, or two, like there's something going on there in your script, your presentation, the way that you make clients feel comfortable with you that seriously needs to be corrected. And if you do that twice in a row, 2 batches of 100 leads, and you're not able to help a single family and you also don't make any tweaks, then selling life insurance might not be the right fit for you. But if you come in and you are able to help 3-4 families, you've proven that some clients trust you and that can be improved upon. And now why wouldn't you, if I made 4,000 and I spent 1,000, why wouldn't I reinvest most of that back into leads? And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that agents will make in the beginning, and two different things. One, they're afraid to reinvest, or two, in regards to like being a steward of their commissions. I talk about this all the time. They come into the business and maybe they have some financial worries that they're coming in with. They've got some debts that they're trying to pay off. They've got some bills that have backed up. And the first thing that they do is they pay off all their bills. And then they have no money left for leads. That wasn't being a very good steward of your commissions. You're starting a business here. And if you're starting a business, the goal is to create cash flow. That's the goal. The goal is to create cash flow. Jordan Lowry, one of my favorite people in the business, he talks about playing with house money. If I go to the casino and I have $100 in my pocket and I win $50, what do? I put the original 100 back in my pocket and I play with the $50. And now I'm trying to take that $50 and turn it into something else and keep that cash flow going in the business so I never have to dig back into my original investment ever again. That's one thing that I can say that I'm incredibly proud of in this business, is that the only reason I can say I'm incredibly proud of this is because I'm incredibly unproud of how I've done it in past businesses where I've spent everything that's come in. I've been the person who had nothing left over. I didn't save for taxes. I did all the things wrong, everything you can possibly do. So when I came into this business, I said, there's no way I will ever do that again. If I make money, I'm going to reinvest this money for like 2 months in a row. That's kind of extreme. That's what I did. I wanted to put everything back in, or at least keep it in the business, keep it in the accounts, not go spend it on things. And that was really important to me to do because it made sure that I never didn't have leads. It made sure that I was always able to continue to talk to new people. It's stressful when you're dialing the same leads for the third week in a row. It is stressful. You talk to 100 leads and you book 10 appointments and you help 3 families. Okay. So that means that 90 of them either said no or didn't answer. So then now I'm calling those same 90 again, depending on if you're calling your no's. Maybe you got 15 no's, so you got 75 left. So now I'm calling those 75 not answered back. And this time I get 8 appointments out of it, but I get another 15 no's. What do I have left over? And you're doing that week over week over week for 3 weeks in a row. That group of people that haven't answered 3 weeks in a row, do you think they're magically going to start answering on week 3? Maybe some of them, but like it just goes down and down and down and down every single time that you dial that same list again. But now, if you were a good steward of your commissions, I'm not talking about going and having to immediately spend thousands of dollars on leads. We have people in this team who they spend $300 and they get 100 3-month-old leads. They watch out for the lead discounts and they saw 50% off final expense mailers and they got double what they could have gotten before. They go and they see 50% off 1-month internet leads and they stock up. They're strategic. They are good stewards of their commissions because buying leads, stewarding your commissions, running a real business, like that's the thing you have to understand. This isn't just something that we just kind of do. Like if you really want to make it in this business and you want to avoid this roadblock, if you want to avoid this landmine, you have to steward it well. You have to treat it like a business. You have to treat it like I have operating expenses. If I own a Subway and I have to buy bread, meat, and cheese, and I just decide I'm not going to buy any cheese this week. I'm going to make sandwiches with the moldy bread from last week. Like how quick do you think you're going to be out of business? It's going to be very, very quick. So not being afraid to reinvest and understanding that the reinvestment, it might be scary for you to put back in what you just made. But now imagine by doing that for a little bit, you've now solidified the skill set because you've gotten the reps in. You've gotten the repetitions. So it's like I make money, I put it all back in, but that gets me another 200 or 300 reps of dialing the phone. And that gets me another 40 presentations. And maybe I break even on all of that. But the fact that I just got 40, 50 presentations out of reinvesting the money. And now when that next batch comes around, I maximize it and go help 10 families. There's my profit. You know, so like at the end of the day, it's just they're reluctant to reinvest into themselves. They're reluctant to go all in this business because they're not confident that they can get a return on investment. They're not confident in themselves that they can actually help families. So it's like that confidence of knowing that it can be learned. And if you know that it can be learned, like I would use that reinvesting in myself as practice to know that when I really go all in and I really start pulling profit from it, it's going to be incredible. But most people, they give up before they even get enough repetitions because they're just dialing the same old crusty leads over and over and over again. And just their rep count gets lower and lower and lower every week. And they're just hating the phone more and more and more because they're dialing the same batch over and over again. So you can't be afraid to reinvest, and you have to be willing to be a good steward of your commissions. The other thing is taking off time early on. So let's say you are somebody who figured this out quite quickly and you went out and you helped 10, 15, 20 families in your first couple of weeks. Grady Polson, he calls this the Disneyland effect. The Disneyland effect is, well, I just helped 10 families. That's made twice as much in a month as I've ever made before. I'm taking the whole family to Disneyland, buy mom a flat screen TV. I'm going to fill my fridge with organic groceries, and I'm going to pay off my $2,000 in credit card debt, and I'm going to pay 2 months of my rent. And then there's nothing left over. And then you go on vacation for 10 days and you come back and 2 of the 10 policies charge back. So now you've got negative 2,000 with Americo. And then it's time to buy leads again. And then rent's coming up too, because you were on vacation for 2 weeks and now you don't have any money left. And that's the part. And it's hard to come back after succeeding and then taking 10 days off and then just getting your momentum back. Like, I didn't take a day off for probably my first 90 days. It just, other than Sunday, but it was, I'm going to be obsessed with this. I'm going to be so obsessed with this and get these repetitions in as quickly as possible so that when I do take time off, it'll come back to me easier versus trying to reinvent the wheel and come back to it every single time. And that's just what happens. And there's agents in here who've been in the business for 3 years, who've done more presentations than you can even count. And when they take 3-4 days off, they still feel rusty coming back, so that taking 10 days off as a new agent, that's going to hurt you. I think in my first month and a half of being in the business, it was just after my 90 days. Yeah. My mom got married. So I had to fly out of state to go to her wedding. And I was there for like 2 weeks, and we didn't have telesales at the time. So I wasn't doing anything. And when I came back, I struggled trying to get back on the train, but it took me a second. I was able to get back to it. So that was important for me to learn that one the hard way, but I want you guys obviously to avoid that if you can. Next couple, playing carrier roulette. So this is in regards to chargebacks. This is a big one. You get a chargeback with Americo. You want to get paid now. So even though underwriting Genie or your manager says write Americo Eagle, you go, I'm going to go write Moo Live and Promise because I don't have any chargebacks with them, so I can get paid. Then you get a chargeback with Americo and Moo, and you go, I'm going to go write Foresters. Then you get one with them. I'm going to write John Hancock. I'm going to go write Aetna. You're just writing policies to get paid. Guys, 30% of your business is going to fall off no matter what you do. It's going to happen. People will cancel. That's part of this business. So I would keep it condensed down to 3, 4, 5, 6 carriers max. And I just write who you're supposed to write. And if I have a chargeback, the next policy I write with that carrier will pay off the chargeback, and I'm back to square again. So carrier roulette is, I just want to get paid, but then now you have debt everywhere. You have no ability to make money. And now you're kind of spinning, trying to figure out how to get out of it. If you are somebody who's ever found yourself in that situation, here's the advice that I give to everybody who has debt in more than 3, 4, 5 places. The carriers that you almost never write, rather than going and writing more business with that random carrier that has a chance of falling off that you almost never write, put a minimum payment plan in place. So I'm not going to name what carriers we write here. We know we write Americo and some other ones. I'm not going to talk down on any other carriers, but if there's a little no-name carrier over here, you have $1,000 in debt, don't go write another $1,000 policy with the no-name carrier to pay off the debt. Make a minimum payment plan and then go right where you're supposed to write. Go write Americo, go write Prosperity, go write AIG, go write American Amicable, go write the companies that we know we're going to get paid, that aren't going to get stuck in underwriting, that aren't these little side companies just trying to get paid on. Just do a minimum payment plan over here. Get yourself out of debt with the main carriers, the ones that will actually get you paid as quickly as possible. And don't go write those little side carriers. Keep all your business condensed down to a couple of carriers so you can avoid playing carrier roulette. And if anybody has deeper questions on that, I'm happy to have a deeper conversation with you. There's a lot to it, but it's simple. Don't go play carrier roulette because you lose every single time. Okay, let's keep it moving here. Okay, here's a big one on the list that's kind of been popular. We've done this call a couple of times, but new agents having a lack of resourcefulness. Okay, a lack of resourcefulness. So I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. This could be as simple as being too dependent on your manager. This could be as simple as, I don't know where to find the quote tool. Can someone please help me? When like it's very simple, you can find it. Or it comes down to like an attitude when you're selling. A lack of resourcefulness, meaning like a lack of like willing to fight for your client to help them, for instance, find their personal info to put the policy in place. Or if you're in the home with somebody and you don't have good phone service and you're like, hey, what's the Wi-Fi? And they go, I can't remember the password. Like resourceful Jamie is going to go and I'll crawl through their back room to find the router in the back corner through the spider webs to find the password. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to get Wi-Fi. I'll drive down to the end of the road to get service to process the signature and then turn around and come back for the other signature and then go back to the other end of the road and process the signature again and then come back and finish the application. Like, it's just, are you willing to help them? Hey, I don't know my banking info. Hey, do you have a little membership card in your wallet with your routing and account number on it? Hey, where's a checkbook? Hey, what about a bank statement? Hey, have you ever logged into your mobile banking? Like helping them find these things, you know, whether it be via telesale or whether it be in person. Are you the person who calls your manager and they go, hey, did you close it? No, I couldn't because they couldn't find their account number. Well, did you ask them XYZ if they had XYZ in the mail, this and that, blah, blah, blah? Well, no, I never thought to ask that. It's like, if I have somebody who has given me a verbal yes, I want the insurance, I will stay on the phone with them an extra couple of minutes to figure it out. Like, are you the person who, you know, if they can't figure out how to sign the electronic application, you hang up and go, I'll call you back later? Or do you struggle through it with them? I think that's a big thing when you're a new agent, is just that lack of the figure it out mentality. You know, I don't want to be rude in any way to anybody, but I remember when I called Grady in my first appointment, and I was like, hey, my AIG login's not working. He's like, dude, figure it out. He's like, you're 27 years old. Like, you know how to use your iPad, right? Yes. Is there a customer service phone number listed there? Yes. Call the carrier, figure it out. You got this. You're a big boy. You know, so like there's certain times when your manager is absolutely there to help you. But like when we are leaning on our manager for like full on tech support, like that's not what they're there for. They're there to help you close the deal. They're there to help you with underwriting advice. Yes, of course, they can help you with tech support. And I do it all the time for new agents who don't know what to click, but it shouldn't be in every home. This shouldn't be a recurring theme. It should be, if I help you with tech support this time because you don't know, should I click yes or no to this question? Well, once I help you once, I shouldn't have to help you with that question ever again. You now know it. So like, as long as it's not like a recurring theme, it's okay. But like there has to be this figure it out mentality in this business. Otherwise, you just become too dependent on your manager. So I think that's a big one. I got two more and we'll get off of here, guys. Trying to find an easier way to outthink the work or to recreate the system. I think that's a big one. Everything from, well, I'm going to hire a dialer. Okay, well, you're brand new. Why do you want to spend $500 a week on a dialer? Do you want to spend $500 a week on a dialer because you actually are trying to get some of your time back to be more efficient, to help you close more deals, or you just hate dialing? Like, are you trying to outthink the work? Well, I'm not actually going to call anybody. I'm just going to text. And there's people that works for, but it's like at the end of the day, the overall mentality of I'm just trying to figure out a way to avoid the work. Like the whole system is the work. This is a hardcore. There's efficiencies, of course. There's people who do this business in a way that's more efficient. We have softwares like Phone Burner and Ringy and Zepo that help you power dial rather than hand dial. I get it. Like there's ways that you can be more efficient in this business, but this business is work. It's absolutely work. There's not really a way to outthink it, to recreate the system or recreate the wheels so that you can avoid the work. There's nobody who's made it to the top of this company or anywhere in the life insurance industry who's gone ahead and avoided the work. So don't try to overthink it. Just know that everything is on the other side of that. And lastly is just people don't treat this like a business. I mentioned it in the beginning. They treat it like a hobby. If you guys understood that here in this business, you could earn doctor, engineer, lawyer type money, like, wouldn't you do anything to learn how to earn that type of income? And then the question also, is if you could do that, why do you expect to earn doctor, engineer, lawyer money without putting in doctor, lawyer, engineer hours? I think that's a big thing. Do you realize that a doctor, lawyer, engineer, they went to school for 10 years on average? You're getting masters and doctorates and all these different things, going through law school, taking the big exams. We don't have to do all of that. Our school is in helping clients, but also these people, they work major hours. They work 80, 90, 100 hours a week. Now, you don't have to do that in this business, but when somebody comes into this business and they think that they're going to put in like part-time fast food hours to earn lawyer money, like that it doesn't make sense at all. Like, you have to fix your thinking and understand that if I want to earn doctor money, I have to work like a doctor. If I want to earn engineer, lawyer money, I have to work like an engineer or a lawyer. I have to treat it like a business, and at the end of the day, you'll start to get so good at this that if you do this for a long enough time, you do this for 5 years, you probably could put in part-time fast food hours and earn lawyer money if you're that good, because you have a book of business. You've been doing this a long time. You figured out your lead flow. You close 9 out of 10 people that you talk to. It's possible, but not day one. But definitely not day one. You have to treat it like a business day one. If you treat it like a hobby, you treat it like part-time fast food, you get paid like part-time fast food. And those people can barely pay their bills. So if you want to be the person who barely pays their bills, you treat it like that. If you want to be the person who's able to get ahead, then you treat it seriously. You treat it like a business. You create minimums and non-negotiables for yourself, and you start to treat this business seriously. So there's probably a dozen more landmines that I could go through, and I'm happy to take suggestions for the next time that we do this one. I think that's a good start. At the end of the day, you have mentors in this business, people who have gone before you. If you were at convention, you saw hundreds and hundreds of people get recognized for helping hundreds and hundreds of families a year. If all of those people can do it, they're just a testament and proof to the system that this works. But all of those people, they put in the doctor hours, they put in the engineer hours, they put in the lawyer hours to be able to go help hundreds of families per year. So that's what you have to be willing to do if you want to find that level of success. If that's not you, you just are kind of trying to help a family or two a weekend, that's cool too. But how long do you want it to be until you help a family or two every weekend? Like, what's the standard that you're setting for yourself? Well, I'll figure it out eventually. Well, most people aren't here more than 60 or 90 days. So you just have to ask yourself the question, like, do you want to be here in 60 to 90 days? And do you want to be here in 60 to 90 days, not just barely surviving, but do you want to be thriving? Do you want to be doing better next year than you were this year? The compound effect of doing it over and over and over again, while also avoiding the things that we tripped on before you. Don't, trip on the exact same stick that we tripped on. Step over it. We'll tell you that it's there. All you have to do is ask. Don't be afraid to communicate. And we're here for you guys. We're 100% here. So we've got more live dials tonight. Anybody who has questions, please reach out. I'm always an open book. Happy to help you with lead strategy. Happy to help you figure out what's going on with your dials, help you figure out and diagnose where you're at. I'm happy to do that. And so are so many other people that you're working with. So guys, everybody have an amazing night. I hope everybody crushes it today, tomorrow, next couple of days. If you need anything, please reach out. We'll talk to you.